So they're doing it again. A Georgetown University researcher who has not been charged with a crime and who has no criminal record was seized by federal agents earlier this week in what his lawyer is described as just another example of our government abducting people. Masked agents arrested Badar Khan Suri outside his home in Roslyn, Virginia on Monday night. Suri is an Indian national and postdoctoral fellow who was studying and teaching on a student visa, according to the report, at Georgetown University. He was informed by agents with the Department of Homeland Security that his visa is being revoked. No reason has been given. Suri's lawyer said his client was targeted because his wife is of Palestinian heritage and is not a United States citizen. Furthermore, his attorney said authorities believe that Mr. Suri and his wife oppose the United States support of Israel. We're trying to speak with him. That hasn't happened yet, said his attorney. This is just another example of our government abducting people the same way abducted Mahmoud Khalil, who disagrees with the United States support of Israel. President Trump has explicitly said his administration is targeting people he refers to as terrorist sympathizers. Which brings up a good point. The alleged members of a violent Venezuelan street gang who were flown from the United States to El Salvador last weekend, the Trump administration is now describing that operation as a counterterrorism operation, saying that those people who they deported were terrorists. The ICE has since had to admit in a court document that many of the people, many of the young men who were on those planes last weekend who were deported to El Salvador have never been charged with a crime anywhere, here or Venezuela, misdemeanor or felony. Mahmoud Khalil, the student activist who was abducted after he led some protests, pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University, has not been charged with a crime. Badar Khan Suri, the Georgetown University researcher and professor here on a student visa from India, has not been charged with a crime. Are you seeing a pattern here? This is why Donald Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, because he can just label them as terrorists. He can just label them as being against the United States and take away all of their due process rights, including a hearing where attorneys for the government would have to prove on an individual basis that each of these individuals had committed a crime, was a terrorist, was a member of a street gang, or was in some other way a danger to the United States, which justifies pulling their visas. They don't have the evidence to do that. Otherwise, they would. They're abducting and disappearing and deporting people who are here in the United States legally. And if you think that's going to stop with people who are here legally from other countries, and that that's never going to happen to American citizens who were born here, the president of El Salvador already said he'd be willing to take American citizen prisoners for a fee and put them in his jails in El Salvador.